Hi, everyone. I'm Teri.
And I'm Ella.
Welcome to the Chasing Red Flags podcast, Let's Get Real.
Here, no topic is off limits.
And real beats perfect every time.
Welcome to the conversation.
Welcome to where you belong.
You're part of the family now, so let's get real together. Hi, Mama. How are you?
I'm good. I had the longest day today, and I kind of just want to get in bed in my pajamas and binge watch TV, but I'm also so excited for our guest today.
Me too. Well, you can do that after this, so hopefully you'll have a relaxing night.
That's my plan.
But I'm very excited for this episode as well. Dr. Jill actually came to visit me at the University of Maryland, and we had such a good time.
You did?
I gave her a big campus tour. We had dinner and a drink, and honestly, I feel like there were so many other topics that came up that we realized that we needed to do another episode together.
Yes, we do, and we are. So
Yes.
I'm so excited. Today we have a special treat, our first ever repeat guest.
Yay!
That's right. She's back because you all absolutely loved her the first time, and there's so many other things that we have to talk about. So get ready for an episode packed with more information that everyone needs to know. College students, honestly, just everybody.
Amazing. And if you didn't catch her first episode, I will say you got to go back because we talked through a bunch of different topics that she covers, from her book, from alcohol poisoning to homesickness to honestly just the common cold. So pause, go listen, and then come back and listen to this one. But just kidding. You can go back after and listen to this episode. But seriously, I feel like her book covers everything, and I mean literally everything. Like, I can't think of something that it doesn't. So I don't think there's a single topic she doesn't tackle, so I'm just ready to have more questions coming. But before we officially bring our amazing guest back on, we want to say thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your support more than you know. Whether you are tuning in for the first time or you're a day one listener, please subscribe to the Chasing Red Flags podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to yours, and subscribe to the YouTube channel to watch all of the episodes. All right, Mom, back to you.
Today, we're joined by the incredible Dr. Jill Grimes, award-winning author of the Ultimate College Health Handbook, your guide from everything from hangovers to homesickness. You might also know her as the TikTok college doc. She breaks down medical advice in ways that we can all understand. Today, we're going to talk about tattoos, tanning, alcohol, ADHD, and so much more. So get ready to press share on this podcast because you'll want everyone you know to hear this. Please welcome back Dr. Jill Grimes.
Yay, we're so excited to have you back.
Yay, I'm very excited to be back with you.
So excited. We've gotten such amazing feedback from your last episode.
So much.
Over 100,000 people watched the clip about binge drinking, which is so crazy.
Yeah, amazing.
People were shocked that there were 17 shots in a fifth of vodka.
Yes.
So clearly this was information that needed to get out there.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And we have a ton more topics to cover, so let's dive right in.
All right, let's
Yes.
go.
Okay.
Well, we'll start. I mean, for me, because as a college kid, I don't know, people always get them. But like, speaking of shocking facts, gotta kick it off with some tattoo stuff. I have always wanted one, but a certain mom over there is not really a fan of permanent changes to my body.
How
Even
about
like
that?
piercings, she didn't let me get like my second one for a while, or like my cartilage. So I know
Now
you
I
have a bunch
no
of
choice.
Exactly. I could do whatever I want. But I know you have a bunch of tips for anyone thinking about getting inked and getting a tattoo. What are
Yes.
like 5 tips that they should know before heading to the tattoo parlor?
Okay, you're going to have to count for me, but let's
Okay.
go. Here's the thing. So really funny right now. I have a temporary tattoo on right now.
Love it. Love it.
perfect
See, but
timing.
it's temporary.
But here's the thing. Most people that get tattoos actually do have regrets. But Mom, it's not the regret you think it is. They don't regret getting a tattoo. They regret the spelling, the placement, whether it's facing out or in. A name, the number one regret is putting a significant other's name who doesn't stay significant.
Mhm.
Got it.
That
So
makes sense.
That's the number one regret. But
Okay.
it's really important that it not be an impulsive decision. And so often there's the group think, especially spring break is a really common one. Graduation is another. Birthdays. Although birthdays, most people are, it's just them getting it. It's a bigger problem when everyone's like, hey, let's all get a tattoo to remember this great trip. And then it's this impulsive tattoo. And you need to consider any tattoo that you get as permanent. There's all of these signs, billboards, literally driving down the highway that say tattoo removal. And so it gets in people's head that, oh, it's like, like you could just remove it. It's not like a clean slate when you remove a tattoo. It's not. So you need to consider it permanent, which means you need to take it seriously. And my very strong suggestion is that you get temporary tattoos of what you want to get, and you live with it for like 6 months.
That's so smart.
So you're going to repeat it. Yeah, because again, a lot of times it's simply like a lot of people like to have an affirmation on their wrist.
Right.
But do you want it so you can read it? Do you want it sideways so that you can read it and others see it? Or do you want it facing out? And it's a big
the placement
difference.
matters too.
It really does. And also, in general, I would strongly encourage it, especially your first tattoo, and they tend to be addictive. People either stop at one or they have more than 6. It's just, people really enjoy their tattoos. But if you're getting ink, you need to think about future jobs. In some jobs, it's completely fine to have them anywhere you want. Yeah. But in government jobs, it is not. And, it's very interesting. I have a friend who's a dermatologist, a very good friend, and he cracks me up. He's like, "Oh, I love tattoos. They're going to fund my children's college, fees," because basically, so many people later in life, just like not much later, like in their 30s, come in to get tattoos removed. Yep. So. Okay. Those are my big tips. I don't know if that was 5, but there you go.
Yeah, those are good.
So if somebody spontaneously goes out, on spring break and a night of drinking, which we know happens, what should they avoid in a tattoo parlor that might be dangerous?
Well, you...
a lot of things.
What are the red flags?
Yeah, there you go. They're red flags. I mean, you'd like to have someone who actually is certified in doing it. You don't want to just pop into the seediest place that's giving them away for free on Halloween and they get to pick the tattoo you get.
Right. Yeah.
If you're doing something spontaneously and you're dead set on it, my general advice would be to stick to black. So single color and single lines. So writing or a single outline, because that is the easiest to remove.
Okay.
You want to avoid red ink. That's the one that gets the most reactions. You can get photosensitivity and blisters and irritation. Yellow is the second most irritating color for some people. But again, if you were doing a spontaneous one, like everybody in band goes and they're like, oh, let's all get a music note, a little black music note right on your ankle or something where you can hide it if you want to hide it. That would be what I would go for if I were doing something spontaneous. But again, discourage that.
Okay. That's actually good to know. I didn't know about the red, so
I didn't know
that's
about
interesting.
the colors either.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, what about if those who have kind of put thought into getting a tattoo and they really do want to, is there any specific ways that you can prepare your skin to ensure the best results and make sure you have a good healing process?
No, there's nothing you can do on the front end. It is all about aftercare. Okay. You really need to follow their recommendations. You cannot swim when you've got a healing tattoo, especially, really, you just can't swim.
Yep.
You can shower. You really can't because you don't want to go in a pool. Even if it's chlorinated, it can be irritating. You don't want to go in the ocean or a lake because you don't want to get germs from in there until it's healed. And it depends how big that is until that's going to happen.
So getting one on spring break, not so smart.
Yeah, because then you're jumping in the ocean 2 days later, and there you go.
Exactly. It's really, it's not a good idea. Most people do it at the end of spring break, to be honest. That's
their last thing to do before they go home.
Yeah,
it really is.
Okay, interesting. What about, I got to know about piercings only because I love them. They're my favorite. Well, more on my ears.
Depending on where, Ella.
Yes, it depends on where. Which ones are kind of safer to get and what are all of the risks that we need to be aware of? I have one, a cartilage piercing, and I was told that it would be a lot more painful than I thought it was.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, I know. It's not usual.
An ear
she
cartilage.
Was very prepared.
An ear cartilage.
Yeah. Ear cartilage here.
Yeah. So here's the general rules about piercings. Number 1, anytime infections are common.
Yeah. Yes.
No matter how good care you take of them. But lobe piercings, so earlobe piercings, whether it's your first, second, or third, those are pretty low risk. because they have a good blood supply, and so they heal. The infections can heal very easily, and you can almost always treat those yourself. You want to be sure that when you get any piercing, your aftercare should only be sterile saline.
Okay.
No peroxide. Yes, that's what I said. No peroxide, no alcohol, which my generation, we were all taught to do that.
Yeah.
And it turns out that actually delays healing. So that's not a good idea.
And now they give you a solution. So did they give you the right solution?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they pretty much.
Because I used that and it like healed very quickly and it was all good.
Yes.
Okay.
And so that's all you should do.
Okay.
It's really hard, but you have to avoid touching them.
Yep.
Again, like our generation was taught, clean it with
twist
peroxide,
it.
untwist it. It's like, get your hands off those things. Leave them alone. Just clean them a few times a day with the sterile saline, and that's it. So that's number one. Number two, if you get a cartilage piercing, there's about a 30% chance of infection, and those are serious, and you should not treat yourself. You need to go in. Do not wait for a fever or a pus or like severe pain. If you have anything going on with them, you need to go in and be seen. They frequently, most of the time, we give oral antibiotics for that.
Wow.
But in severe cases, we actually may have to like put someone in the hospital and give them IV antibiotics. I mean, you don't want to mess around with cartilage piercings, and so many people do cartilage piercings on spring break.
Ella just got one, and
I did it at home with you though, Mom. Like you took me.
Yeah,
and, like,
I took her to a reputable
together.
place. We went. She cleaned it out religiously, but she was expecting it to be a lot worse. She also had her regular earrings infected and closed up the first time, and she had to re-pierce her regular.
Do that again.
You know,
and that happens. And then different body piercing. Okay, if you're going to pierce your nose, do not pierce the septum. So go for an outside one if you're going to pierce the nose.
Okay.
When you get in with the septum again, risk of serious infection and ugly scarring outcomes much higher if you're piercing the inside.
Okay.
So stick with the outside. Tongue piercings, let me just keep this really simple. Don't do them. Don't do them. They're really popular. But you think of how long you spent in braces.
I'm
Mom
like
to
touching
dad.
my tongue.
Think of the expense of orthodontia, and for all of us, the pain and suffering of orthodontia for our beautiful smiles, and we're lucky to have them. But the truth is that tongue piercings chip teeth. They
I never even thought of that.
They chip them more if they're metal. Plastic is better, but it is still
That's
bad.
so interesting.
And so that's why the American Dental Association and of course the AMA and all doctors, we are all against tongue piercings because they mess up, first of all, your teeth, the enamel on your teeth, they chip stuff. And then also then it can affect your gums, and then that can lead to infections. And it's just,
don't do it.
Just
don't do it.
My medical advice is to not do that. Yeah.
What about belly button piercings? Because I've heard so many mixed reviews that like it either hurts or it doesn't at all, and like people love it. So I don't know.
Okay, so that there just aren't that many nerve endings right there. It's generally not considered a painful piercing.
Okay.
That being said, depends on the individual, depends on the piercer, but in general, those are not particularly painful. Now, the belly button has a lot of folds. Okay, and anytime there's skin folds, it's hard to clean. More bacteria live there. It's easier to get infected. Okay, sorry, that's it.
Yep.
Okay.
Nope. Got it. Great. Awesome. Love
Ella,
it.
Stick with your ears.
Okay. Sounds good.
Let's pivot to tanning and sunscreen. So now that the sun is out more, my mom had melanoma. I've had several moles removed. Ella actually had
Here.
skin cancer, pre-skin cancer cells on her face and on her thigh, and had surgery on both of them.
Wow, that's scary.
Yeah, scary.
I was 8 for my thigh, and then
8.
I think I was in like a freshman or maybe 8th grade, and I had the one on my face.
So growing up, I basically baked in baby oil, sat in tanning beds, and I have to ask, is sun damage irreversible?
Kinda. I mean, the reality is you can't go back and change your past.
Right.
So for everybody who is listening, don't do tanning beds. I honestly
I don't even think they exist anymore.
That's not true. That's not true.
Oh,
they
okay.
do.
Okay.
But I don't know why they do. And if you were going to use a tanning bed, you just shouldn't. I mean, they're not a good idea. The concept of a base tan, talking about spring break, people are always like, "Oh, I'm going to go get a base tan so I don't burn." That is just a complete myth.
Not true.
That is just not
You always
true.
used to say
I
that,
did.
Mom.
I used to say you needed a little base because she was so white and light skinned that
Yeah.
she would get very red in the sun.
You should my daughters, again, godfather is a dermatologist.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm a family physician. Our children never were exposed to
Got
the
it.
Yep.
sun. I always
Okay.
had the full sleeves and everything. And yeah, no, a base tan does not exist.
Okay.
Every burn you get, every
Okay.
serious burn with
This is my-
blisters
This
that
is
you
my
get
next question.
increases your risk of melanoma. How much? It's really hard to say. We know that people who have had like 4 to 5 severe blistering burns between the ages of like 15 and 20, that definitely significantly increases your risk of melanoma. But honestly, the studies are conflicting about if you then are super careful as an adult,
Yeah.
does that decrease your risk? It's not what you need. The take home message is you can't undo what's already done.
Yep.
Yep.
Be vigilant about looking at your skin or going to a dermatologist or a family physician and being looked at.
Yep.
And make sure that you're wearing sunscreen all the time. And
Okay.
the thing is, okay, and speaking of shots from earlier,
Yeah.
a shot glass is how much sunscreen should cover your whole body when you're in a swimsuit.
Oh,
okay.
really?
That's
So-
a good fact.
Yes, so that tube or bottle of sunscreen that lasts the whole crew, the whole spring break, nobody's using enough.
Got it.
Okay.
It's a shot glass every 2 hours, or after, like if you put it on and then you go swim in the ocean for an hour and you come back and it's only been
You
an
gotta
hour, you
put it
need to
back
reapply
on.
anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
My
After
mom
it's-
used
after
to
you're
say,
dry.
reapply.
Yep.
And she drilled into me that 5 bad burns
Yeah.
doubles your risk of melanoma.
Because an older study showed that. And
Got
it
it.
was 5 bad burns between 15 and 20. It's a bit of a dated study now.
Yeah.
But that and
So she
it's-
wasn't lying, just to,
She
get
was
that.
not lying. I can show you the medical reference for that, but
Got
it is
it.
a little dated.
Okay.
Let's change it up and talk about ADHD.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
We talked about mixing ADHD meds and alcohol in the last
Oh,
episode.
yes.
So,
Or
but
not
I-
mixing.
Yes.
Or not-
Or not mixing. But I read your book and it says that 11% of college students are on ADHD medicine.
And it's
So-
probably higher than that.
And
but
it's
yes.
probably higher.
Yep.
So, can you walk us through what people should know about prescription stimulants?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So let's start with, if you're in high school and you're listening to this, you need to be in charge of your own ADHD medications, because a big problem with many, many, many college students is that freshmen, when they go away and it's the first time that they're responsible for taking it, half of them forget to take it.
Yep.
And or they take it twice by accident. We see that a lot during finals. People will be, like pull an all-nighter or whatever.
And take
go.
two.
They'll take their medicine before they go take their final. They come back. They take a nap. They get up and they take it again, and then they get racing heart and palpitations. And there's not, that's tough. But the most important things are, number one, establish that routine, have some kind of accountability. There's different ways. There's all kinds of, whether it's an app or whether it's something you stick on your prescription where you peel off the tab for each day,
Yeah.
or there's all different kind of pill reminders, but it's really important to know whether or not you took it. So that's number one. Number two, refills. As everyone who's on long-acting ADHD medications has discovered in the last several years, there can be a big delay
Yes,
in getting
big
your
refills.
medicine. And so don't wait till the last minute to put in your refill. You can usually ask for it 3 to 5 days in advance. You can get it from the pharmacy usually 3 days in advance of it needing to be filled so that you don't run out. So that's that. Now, mixing it, again, if you have it on board and you drink alcohol, you're not going to get any of those warning signs from alcohol that tell you that you're getting buzzed and that you're having too much to drink.
Okay.
So be aware of that. And people have a tendency to borrow these from friends. They think it's going to help their grades. Let me just say, there are all kinds of studies that show, okay, we know that yes, in the given moment, if you take a stimulant, whether it's caffeine, like from, whatever source of your caffeine is, coffee or a pill, or if you take an ADHD medication, does it in the moment increase your focus? Yes, it does. Does it improve your grades? No, it doesn't.
Yep.
If
'Cause
you do
I've
not
heard-
have, Yeah, if you don't have ADHD, taking a study pill,
It's not going to help.
Not going to help.
it is not going to help.
Because I heard a lot of people who like aren't prescribed and they just buy them to like cram for finals or midterms
Yes.
and like
Or to write a
I've
paper.
heard rumors like is it true that selling them is like a felony and you can go to jail?
It is so much worse to get
Wow.
caught
Okay.
selling a prescription ADHD medication. It's a controlled substance.
Yep.
And that,
Wow.
yes, it is a
That's so
felony. It
interesting.
depends on the
Felony.
state. But
Yeah.
yes, it's a huge deal. And if you have a felony on your record, you can't get jobs. Not
Yeah.
only might you get a enormous fine, like up to $10,000 and jail time, but if you don't get kicked out of school, you may lose your federal student aid. You can lose
Yeah.
your loans. I mean, it is
A big deal.
it is not
deal.
a small deal. It's a huge deal, and it
Don't
is not
sell your
worth the risk.
ADHD medicine. And
Yeah.
Do not
Well,
sell
'cause
it. Don't buy it from somebody else. And you don't know who the undercover cops are. Just here's a little
That's
tidbit.
so true.
At parties, there are undercover cops who look like students.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's so interesting because I know somebody that tried to sell his ADHD medication on like Snapchat and like sent
Oh.
a picture of like the bottle to like a group chat and Snapchat like blocked his entire account and he couldn't get it back.
Good.
So
Yep.
they're aware.
If that's-
so
if
Yeah,
that's-
so
if
they're like
that's-
aware
for
of
anyone
what's going on.
listening,
Yeah.
they think everything's private on Snapchat.
Yeah, it's
Oh
not.
my goodness.
Sending a picture, like someone noticed that and it was shut
Yeah.
down. So nothing's private. Also, good messaging for everyone.
Yes. And if that's all that happened to that person, he is
Lucky.
so lucky because big fines, big serious thing, much worse than weed or anything else. Just
Okay. Good to know. Good to know.
yes.
Okay, can you settle the debate that I hear all the time from my friends?
Sure.
Are vapes really better than cigarettes? Because I have heard a lot of mixed things, and I know that like college students think that vaping is like the safer option, or they'll have a vape if they want to like wean off of cigarettes or like something like that.
There's nowhere I go where I'm not seeing someone vaping.
Yeah.
Yes. Because it's so easy and so convenient
And so addictive.
and wildly addictive. So here's the thing. We spent generations trying to help people with nicotine addiction. And the truth is, if you are smoking a pack a day of cigarettes and you have an intense addiction, is it better for that person who is addicted to smoking cigarettes to
Yeah.
be vaping? You can make an argument for that, but you cannot say that vaping is safe. It is wildly addictive. And part of the thing too is when young people are using vapes, so that nicotine, it hits instantly
It does.
when you're vaping. And it doesn't last very long. Ask anyone
you want
who's
more
addicted
and
to
more
it
and
because
more.
so the second it wears off, you're like, you start
want more.
having withdrawal and you want
Yep.
more. And you're not learning healthy coping skills.
Right.
Yeah.
So what you're learning is
Take a quick hit.
you need to take a quick
Yeah.
hit. And you'll notice that, not everybody gets addicted, but nicotine is wildly addictive, far more addictive than weed. And a lot of people, of course, are vaping THC as well.
Yes.
But, and this is not safe. It is not good for your lungs, your brain, or your heart. It
Right, so
raises
there
your
is
blood pressure.
long-term damage.
Yes, there is long-term damage. And there it's not like it's only nicotine in the vape. There's other substances in there.
Yes.
And, we're just not supposed to inhale anything into our lungs other than air. Everything else that you're putting in your lungs is bad.
All right. Okay. So let's talk about the red Solo cups because we had mentioned that before.
Okay.
Mom and I both have one. Yours is white, but I have the red one. We were looking up online. Until I heard this from you, I really didn't have the idea of like the lines on the Solo cup and
I
how
had
they're
no idea.
measurements. Yeah, I didn't know that. And so I feel like a lot of people don't really know. So can you tell us what we need to know? And then I also have like the diagram here.
Yes. So definitely
We both
show
do.
the diagram. So
Yes.
basically
For
that
those
very
of you listening, we're going to explain it. But for those
There
of
you
you
go.
watching, we have the diagrams on the
Yes.
right.
Okay.
So if you're listening, the very bottom line,
Yeah.
which is, like a finger's breadth,
Yep.
that's basically a shot, 1 ounce.
Yep.
Yes.
And then the next line up, which is kind of like 3 fingers, I would say,
Yep.
is supposed to be for wine. A
Wine,
serving
yep.
of wine is 5 ounces.
Yep.
And then kind of the whole cup, up to the, not to the tippy
Well, it's
top like
really
a
the
college
lower
pour.
one.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Is for beer.
Okay.
So
And that's what, 12 ounces?
12 ounces. Yes.
Right. So when Ella and her friends take wine and they fill up to the top of this cup, they're actually having, so for everyone listening,
Like two
Yeah,
and a half.
two and a
2.5.
half glasses of wine.
Correct.
And then they wonder why they're drunk when they have 2 red cups, which is 5 glasses of wine.
Right. And actually, the college pour goes all the way to the top. So it's really 3 glasses.
Right.
Okay.
So yes. And they're not the only ones guilty. College students are not the only ones. They're making wine glasses. I mean, of course, a red wine glass is larger than a white wine glass. But in general, I mean, the mega glasses have become rather popular.
Yeah.
And yes, people are getting way too much because of that. And by the way, to the best of my knowledge, the makers of the solo cups did not intend for that to be the case,
right?
Is my understanding, but it's a great way to
now that
kind
it's
of
out there,
eyeball it, measure.
I feel like
everyone should know. Yeah.
So for everyone listening, I think this is so helpful.
It's really helpful. Yeah. I like that.
So it looks like you're not drinking a lot of wine, but that's a glass.
Yeah.
Right. And it looks like a small pour.
It looks tiny,
it does.
and it's not.
Right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
While we're talking about alcohol, I was shocked to hear this. Does carbonation actually speed up alcohol absorption?
Yes, it does.
I don't get
I
it.
didn't know that.
So I know you would think like straight alcohol would be absorbed the fastest,
Right.
But it turns out that diluted alcohol, even if it's water or juice, but especially carbonation, makes it get absorbed more quickly. And there's different theories about why that is, and I don't think any of them are super proven. But the bottom line is there is absolute medical data to show that the carbonation does increase the speed of absorption. Now, that being said,
that's so interesting.
That being said, there's so many factors that go into this. How much, if you have a bunch of food in your stomach,
right?
Honestly, I'm sure there's probably little to no difference but the biggest problem with shots is that it's a shot. It's 1 second and it's done. At least if you are sipping on alcohol mixed, whether it's mixed with something carbonated or juice or whatever, yes, it will be absorbed more quickly, but you're going to have smaller quantities. So take-home message is not so much that the carbonated alcoholic beverage is going to make you more drunk. It's just you're going to feel it faster.
Got it.
Okay. That's so interesting.
I had no idea, so that was very good to know.
Okay. Let's get real just in general about this. How many drinks per hour are actually safe? And I know it probably depends on the person.
The weight and the food.
Yeah.
Yes. So all of that, for sure. And so because one person who is on, say, an antidepressant, maybe they're on an antidepressant or 2 and or also an ADHD medication, and they are going to react to alcohol very differently.
Like my Lexapro or something like that.
Right, exactly.
One drink is 2. So
you always say that to me.
I like that phrase. One drink.
That's my
2.
phrase. I say for someone on, and it's different for everyone on anti-anxiety medicine, but I like to say 1 drink is 2.
I think that's a good catchphrase for people to remember, and it's a good warning.
Good job, Mom.
What I would love people to do when they're sober and just wondering about this, if you really want to know, go to drunkcalc.com, which is a calculator, and you put in your body weight, and then you put in. I like drunkcalc.com because it's sort of like a real-time thing. So you say, I had a margarita at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
And then I had a glass of wine, and then I did a shot. And it's going to tell you based on the timing of those drinks and the alcohol content and your weight and gender, because that does make a difference, what your blood alcohol content what your blood alcohol level is.
Okay.
And so,
I never heard that before. I never heard of it.
Yeah, I think it's super helpful
That's
for
great.
people to.
What is it? Drunkcalc.com?
Yep.
Write it down, Ella.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's
absolutely.
A good idea.
And I think that's really helpful. As a general rule of thumb, we don't want females going beyond 4 drinks in 2 hours, and guys, it's 5. But
Ella would be in the hospital.
Well, exactly. And I guarantee you there's people listening, they're like, oh, well, I have 8 drinks in 2 hours, and I'm fine. Well, okay, hello, that means you've got alcohol tolerance, and that is actually not a good thing. And that doesn't mean that you are safe or that your reflexes aren't getting impaired or that your judgment isn't getting impaired. It just means you aren't feeling buzzed, which is a different thing.
Yes.
But you can still get alcohol toxicity, and you can still get heart arrhythmias or suppress your drive to breathe or have a blackout, the memory loss, all of those things. So I hope that's a
No,
ballpark
that's really
answer.
helpful. 100%.
Okay, not to switch gears, but another topic that I can't ignore that we're hearing a lot about, I think, in the news, and actually I know a bunch of young adults, but lip fillers. It seems to be that this is becoming more common with younger people, but also, with a lot of people. What does someone need to know before getting lip fillers?
I'll keep this very short.
Okay.
Number one, don't go to a med spa. Sorry, med spas out there that have board certified dermatologists. You want a plastic surgeon or a dermatologist who has advanced training in this. You don't want it screwed up. The mess ups are less than 1%. The overfilling, they call it migrating filler. Where I don't really think of it as migrating as much as it's just like expanding.
Yeah.
When you get the big old duck lips, or
Well,
you
clearly
get.
I haven't had any because I have no lips.
I haven't had any
Terrible
either.
lips.
Oh no, your lips are lovely.
They're tiny.
They're lovely.
Okay.
Yes.
There's tiny lips and
You're
there's
naturally
big
gorgeous,
lips.
Mama.
Thanks, everyone.
Same with
I should come here more often.
all the
I know.
things.
Same with everything. You know?
Yeah, I'm just saying there's big and there's little. There's,
That's
I'm
true.
just saying.
That's
so,
true.
but in all sincerity, so the most important thing is please, and I'm a family physician, and, I am saying you want a board certified dermatologist or plastic surgeon who does this, especially if you are, in the 18 to whatever 30 crowd.
Right.
Lips, you just don't want to mess these up. And
No.
again, it's less than 1% that have significant bad outcomes where you can actually, it can be accidentally injected into a blood vessel and actually cause death of the cells around there, like bad stuff. So
Got it.
Be careful.
that's to take them. And you
careful.
want the hyaluronidase, hyaluronic acid ones. But anyway, the bottom line is make sure you go to the right person.
Okay. Good to know.
Okay.
Is there that's probably one of the biggest risks, but is there another big risk that people don't really think about when they're going to do that?
Well, the other thing is if you have fever blisters, cold sores, oral herpes, which a large percentage of the population does, you can reactivate that. You can end up with mouth sores. You can end up with other problems with that. So that's kind of one people don't think about.
No.
I wouldn't have thought of that ever.
That's very good to know. So if you have cold sores, lip fillers might not be a good idea.
Possibly not. Also, if you have lupus, if you have different diseases, there's things where you get a hyperinflammatory response.
Okay.
Then lip. But again, the right doctor is going to talk with you about those things and talk about those risks, and they're not going to have you do that.
It's a little scary how popular, cosmetic procedures are becoming with young people.
Yes, I am actually very frustrated with that because if you are unhappy with how you look, like wrinkle wise and lips at 18, you're going to have a long life ahead of you of being unhappy. And I think the whole issues with body dysmorphic disorder,
that just adds to it.
I have a lot of concerns about that in young people. And I understand that there's some use of Botox that truly is wrinkle preventative. I have never had any. I had all the acne and the oily skin. That's my big blessing.
We talk a lot about scars. I have
a
huge scar on my neck, which I actually just said to Ella, I've been noticing a lot more in the podcast, and it really bothers me because that's where I had spine surgery. I've gotten so many moles removed. I had a huge scar. I cut my head from here to here on my face.
And everyone's you can't even see it. I'm not going to lie.
Everyone's like, you can get that fixed. And I'm like, you know what? It also just makes me human. All these scars are like little parts of my life that now I'm like, oh, this happened this year, and this happened this year, and this happened this year.
Yeah.
It's all my memories. But I do think, when it comes to college life, people are getting a lot more cosmetic procedures.
Yeah.
Yes, and especially the lips. And let me just say, I have seen a lot of poorly done lip filler. And you got to live with that. Now, I will say, as a side note, if you're getting the hyaluronic acid, and you get a terrible outcome, it can be reversed.
Okay.
With collagen, it cannot, and you have to wait it out. So and these things last 6 months, a year, up to 18 months. It depends on the person and all the lot of different things. But overfilling is the most common problem, and basically an unsatisfactory cosmetic outcome where you've got uneven, bigger on one side than the other, or just the duck lip thing, or different. There's a lot of people that are unhappy with outcomes, way more than that less than 1%. The less than 1% is serious bad outcomes.
Got it.
That can't be reversed.
So while we're talking about college stuff to college kids, I also want to just bring back STDs for a minute. How do you know if you've been infected? Well, it's one of the questions that Ella got, people are typing in.
Yeah, they're
sure.
asking.
And so I think that we need to be clear on that, because it is a question that so many people have typed in and asked. How do they know if they've been infected from an STD?
I am so glad you asked this because the only way to know is to get tested. The biggest mistake that we see is people who, they'll have symptoms. They hook up with someone. The next day they've got some burning, discomfort, maybe a little discharge, whatever, but things are not right, and they're like, oh no, and then the next day it's gone, and they're like, oh, whew, thank goodness, I'm fine. I don't have anything. Well, I hate to tell you this, but no, you need to go get tested, because so many STDs are silent, meaning you don't have symptoms or you have very transient symptoms.
So I say that to all the kids. The only way to know is to actually get tested. And they're not invasive tests. Usually,
you just have to pee in a cup.
You just pee in a cup. Deal. I think men think it's invasive and that you have to stick something in that spot.
Used to.
They used to, right? Am I wrong?
Okay. Oh, no. We absolutely used to do that. And oh, gosh, guys would faint.
Oh, it was awful, Ella.
Yeah. No, but by and large, for gonorrhea and chlamydia, you can just pee in a cup.
Okay.
For HIV, obviously, that's a blood test.
Right.
But please just get tested, because the issue is if you miss a chlamydia infection that's so easily treated with an antibiotic right now, it's easy to treat. But if you miss that and you end up with a long-term infection, you can get that leads to something called pelvic inflammatory disease, or PID for short. Yeah. That can cause infertility issues. And it is thought that, if we just screen, if we were able to screen and test everybody who is sexually active, that we could prevent so many cases of infertility.
And I've been hearing a lot of famous people online on their podcasts recently, a couple that I've just heard. I had chlamydia. I took the pills. Yes. I had chlamydia. So it is out there. It is going around, and people need to get tested. And
the numbers went down during COVID, but that's because people weren't going in and getting tested, most likely.
That makes sense.
So all the more reason to get tested. And when do you get tested? If you've had a new partner, you need to go get tested. Right. I mean, it's not a big deal.
Okay.
It's part of being an adult and making decisions. If you decision to be sexually active, do it responsibly. And use condoms or a barrier. Yes. Because that prevents transmission. It greatly decreases your risk.
You heard it from Dr. Jill. Use condoms.
Wait, I have to ask also, I don't know if this is a rumor or not, but is it true that chlamydia or gonorrhea can show up in your eye?
Yes, in your eye or mouth.
Eye?
In your eye or mouth. And we see it more often in the throat. In your eye, it is not subtle. Let me just say, no one is going to miss gonorrhea in your eye.
What does it look like?
It's like pink
gross.
eyes.
It's like copious amounts of pus coming out of your eyes. So
okay.
So
I don't know if that was a rumor.
No. Wait.
I know.
But because you brought that up, let me just say that's why there's flavored condoms. If you are putting something in your mouth, there should be a barrier, because you don't want to get disease in your mouth.
That is true.
I actually never thought of that, and I'm dying to know what flavors there are.
Okay.
We might have to do a Chasing Red Flags trip to the pharmacy to figure out the flavors.
You can do that yourself. You have fun with that.
She's sending me by myself to the condom.
You have fun with that.
Okay. So this brings up another important issue. Mm-hmm. When college students need medical tests, now we're talking about medical tests. When college students need medical tests like pregnancy tests and STT screenings, and they're still on their parents' insurance.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Sometimes those tests show up, like on their explanation of benefits.
Yes, so
I don't
let's-
want people to, I don't want to discourage people from going to get tests, but how can they get tests if they don't want their parents to know?
Yeah.
They have to pay not on their parents' insurance. Because
Okay.
here's the thing, and please do not ask your doctor, oh, hey, can you just say you're doing a strep test, but really do a
Yeah, no.
I can't tell you how many people ask that. It's like, no, that's actually insurance fraud and we'll lose our license for that. So no, thank you. We will not be doing that.
Okay.
You can go to a public clinic.
Planned
the
Parenthood.
prices, Planned Parenthood, to, every community, most communities have public clinics. They charge on a sliding scale. So you're paying cash, then that's your business. But let me just explain to the listeners what an EOB is, the explanation of benefits.
Yep.
So all it is, it's not a bill, but it is literally, it's a list of, it'll just say office visit, but then it will list any labs ordered or procedures done. So an ultrasound, a urine test, a blood test. It's going to spell out what we were checking for. And there should be communication with your doctor about that. Like they should tell you before they order it so that you can make the choice. Do I want to order this or not? Or do I want to go somewhere else and pay cash? That is up to you.
Well, I don't want to discourage people from getting tested. So
No.
still get tested and go. Just maybe think about where you're going for the test.
And the thing is, if you're a college student listening, go to your college student health center. Almost all of them have free STD testing or greatly reduced prices.
Okay.
Most have free, and they have a separate STD clinic.
And none
no
of
big
that goes
deal
home.
again. And that's just between
you and the doctor. Okay, that's good to know.
Thank you.
I noticed that this does kind of tie in kind of a little bit to something I noticed in your new edition of the book is like the section on going to the doctor alone for the first time.
Yes.
Like without your parents. So is there any like specific advice you have for students who are going to doctor visits for the first time without your parent?
Yes. May I give 3 things?
Absolutely.
All right. So number 1, you have to have your health insurance card. And because you won't get past
I tell
the
my
receptionist.
kids that all the time. You need to carry it around.
It's in my wallet.
But if you don't have the card, just when you have the card, take a picture of it front and back.
Okay.
And that will get you in the door. So that's number 1. Number 2, lead with your most important concern. So many people don't want to say, I'm actually just having terrible anxiety or I'm insomnia. So they'll come in and they'll say, I've got a stomach ache or I've got headaches. And they wait until the doctor's ready to walk out of the door. And then they say, but actually, can I ask one more thing?
Yep.
Actually, I haven't been able to sleep for like a week.
Yeah.
And so lead with your most important concern. There's nothing we haven't heard. No one is judging you. Okay. Lead with your most important concern. Next thing is ask what's next. So whatever the doctor gives you as the treatment or the test that they're going to order, you need to know what's the next step. So if I take this antibiotic and I'm still coughing or I still have a fever, how do I get back in touch and when should I get back in touch? What side effects should I be worried about? Or if I'm going to physical therapy, what's if that doesn't work, what's next? When do I come back and I maybe need to get an MRI or something? Like always ask what's next, because the most common reason that people are unsatisfied with their care is they don't know the answer to that question. Right. What's next if this doesn't work? And doctors have plans B, C, D, maybe E, F, and G.
Right.
Okay. But
better to know then than to have to go back and ask those questions.
Right. Well, and to know how do I go back? I mean, do I do it through the patient portal?
Yep.
And and I'm making this sound easy, and it's not.
Right.
It is often hard to get a follow-up. Like they'll say, I'm sending you to a neurology referral, but what happens if you don't get it? And so trying to anticipate some of that and just ask, who do I talk to?
Right.
What's next?
I tell Ella to bring a little notepad and just write everything
or just
down.
like take notes on your phone in the notes app, something like that.
I still take notes.
I know you do handwritten notes.
She yells at me. I know.
No, it's always a good idea to write it down, because you're going to walk out and you're like, what did they say?
Right. Yeah.
Well, you brought up tummy aches. So it's around finals time now. What is the common things that you hear that college students are going through during finals time?
we see a lot of side effects from what people are using to self-medicate. So if they are taking they're having a lot of Starbucks, they're really up in their caffeine, and or they're vaping all the time because they're trying to cram and study and stay awake. We see a lot of stomach irritation and headaches and insomnia from all of that caffeine. We definitely, people certainly get stomach aches lower as well, whether that's constipation, diarrhea, whatever, from poor nutrition and lack of sleep. And that certainly irritates all
Late night
of
fast food.
Exactly. I mean, you think about what you're eating just to function and get by, and it's the end of the semester, and you might be done with your meal plan, and so you are having more fast food.
Right.
We do see a lot of problems with all of that.
Got it.
Okay. With stomach stuff going on, I personally take a lot of Tums.
Yes.
Is that bad?
You can get too much Tums, but it is definitely my go-to for first thing because it works faster than the pills that block acid. So if you right now have heartburn, taking Tums or Maalox, Mylanta, any of that stuff will help you the quickest.
Ella likes Tums.
I love Tums.
Yeah, I do too, because they're a good source of calcium. I mean, but you can overdo it.
They're not candy, Ella.
And if you, right.
I know, I treat them like candy once
She
in a
does.
while.
She treats
Yeah. Especially the
medicine.
chewy ones that are
The chewy ones,
they're so good. I know.
Yep.
They're really
They taste good too. It's like I swear to God, it's like candy.
They do, but you do need to be careful about that. You can't get too much calcium.
Good to know.
Okay.
I'm gonna take this in a completely different direction now.
All right.
But it's a pet peeve of mine. So I have to talk about it.
All right.
Bad breath.
Yes.
I feel like whether it's, I don't know, when you wake up in the morning or in the middle of the class, it's just like one of those things that like nobody really wants to deal with.
Ella always has gum in her mouth. She does
I
not
always
like bad breath.
Yeah,
She
or
doesn't like to
I
smell
have mints
bad
in my
breath.
backpack, like something. So like, what are the biggest culprits, like behind bad breath, and like how can you fix it if possible?
Mints.
And mints. Yeah.
Mints are one of the biggest culprits. So here's the thing. Dehydration is number one.
Oh.
You have to have moisture in your mouth.
Yeah, dry mouth. Mm-hmm.
Right. So whether you're getting dehydrated from antihistamines.
I'm going to have a drink.
Yes, there you go. The best thing you can do is be drinking water, regularly, carrying that water bottle with you. But the whole thing is you got to, this is kind of basic, but you need to brush your teeth twice a day for a full 2 minutes using an electronic toothbrush. If you ask any dentist or dental hygienist, they will tell you the best thing you can do for bad breath and also just for, oral health in general is a good quality electric toothbrush. That is a good investment and will keep you out of the dentist chair or get you out faster. Brush your tongue at the end just quickly because, a lot of the bacteria likes to be in the crevices in your teeth and also in your tongue.
I have a tongue scraper.
There you go.
I don't know if that's yeah, it's awesome. I do that after I brush my teeth.
Yeah, and flossing also. I mean, these are very few people floss regularly. But if you have bad breath, you need to be flossing every day. You also can get something called tonsillitis that are tonsil stones that a little. It's kind of gross, but like little pieces of fragments of food get caught in your tonsils, which are lumpy. It's lumpy tissue in the back of your throat. And then it sits there, and then you got bacteria, and then that can give you terrible breath. And you do not want to go in there self-surgery hunting after those. Please go into a doctor, let them take a look at you.
Okay.
And they can help with that. But smoking also causes bad breath because
I used to say that all the time when we were younger, and people smoked cigarettes all the time, which I've seen people smoking a lot more. Again, bad breath.
Yes.
Okay.
Bad breath, yellow teeth,
got it.
All of that. But the problem with mints is that if they're completely sugar-free, a little bit less so, but even then you don't want to be putting mints in your mouth all of the time. It's better to be drinking water than doing that. And if you're going to chew gum, it needs to have the xylitol in there. But if you have too much xylitol, then you'll get bloating and basically like irritable bowel symptoms from having too much xylitol.
Right.
So speaking of things that you don't want to deal with, like bad breath, the ultimate rite of passage has happened to me, happened to my best friend at Penn State, probably all my friends here, and Ashton Earl. I just saw on a TikTok burning yourself with a flat iron. I just saw Ashton
Or
literally
the
like
curling
burned,
wands.
or like the curling wand.
And that's usually your fingers.
Yep. Oh, yeah. And
Ella
I feel
got
like,
one in her
I mean,
face.
it has to happen at some point. Like, everybody does it. But, like, what is the best way to treat a flat iron or curling iron burn to avoid leaving a scar?
Yeah. Well, one of the biggest things is when people put them up high and then they fall down on them. So also do not do that.
Do that. Yeah.
The reality is with burns, you want to get it under cold water as quickly as possible. If it's your hand, you can immerse it. That's, better. Just put it under running cold water.
My hand.
You don't want to put ice directly on your skin, but you can put ice in a wet paper towel or in a washcloth.
Put it right
Hold
in your
that
face.
on there. But basically, you want to cool it down as quickly as possible. And then, honestly, see a doctor if you can, if you need to. But you can use a little bit of over-the-counter steroid creams can help, but no Vaseline, no butter, no oils of any sort.
No Vaseline, Ella.
Oops.
Ella puts Vaseline on all of her burns.
I didn't burn my hand on a flat iron recently, but I was using a toaster and I hit like the top of my finger and
Really
like it's
bad
healed
burn.
now. But like I ran under cold water, I did all of that. But then after I put on Vaseline, so I will not do that anymore.
Well, you can use Vaseline later in the care.
Okay.
Because actually Vaseline is a good choice for healing cuts. It's better than triple antibiotic ointment or Neosporin, which is new from what we used to be taught. But you don't want to put it immediately on a burn.
Okay. Good to know.
So now that it's spring and allergies are everywhere, my son's on Zyrtec. I know there's tons of allergies. I want to know not about allergies so much, but why allergy medicine is now hidden behind the counter.
Oh,
because it's no longer available.
Well, okay, so it's not the antihistamine.
Okay.
It's the D with it. It's the decongestant with it. So what happened is pseudoephedrine, Sudafed, which was pseudoephedrine, is a very effective decongestant.
Right.
Okay.
But people were using it to make meth.
To make meth?
Yeah. Yes.
Sudafed?
So people are using it. Yes. So that's why the FDA put it behind the counter many, many years ago now. And they switched it up and they put in phenylephrine instead of pseudoephedrine. Well, it turns out phenylephrine is it's an ineffective decongestant.
Okay.
So just recently, that only came out last year. And so now that's being taken away. But the real Sudafed, and any products that are like a combination antihistamine decongestant that have pseudoephedrine in it, you don't need a prescription for them, but you have to get them behind the counter so people aren't stockpiling it and making their own meth.
Wow. That is
a surprising answer, not expecting that at all. All I know is I go to buy certain medicines now and I can't get them and I have to go behind the counter and I never knew why. Thank you for letting us know.
Just about the Sudafed.
Only because we were talking about mixing medications earlier, is there anything that we should be thinking about when it comes to like allergy meds? Can you drink and take allergy meds, or is it also kind of like any other medication that you're on?
Well, definitely when they're dehydrating, so that compounds the problem. It's going to give you more of a hangover, I'll tell you that much. But also if you have any of the sedative effects from an antihistamine, obviously it's more so with first generation ones like Benadryl, which honestly we just don't really recommend. Diphenhydramine, which is Benadryl, we really just don't recommend that for anything anymore.
I'm a terrible mom. I used to give my kids Benadryl every time we got on a long plane flight.
Yeah, it knocks me out.
Should I get arrested? I literally used to give it to them through their whole childhood.
And a lot of people did.
Wow.
And that was,
good to know.
But now allergists, allergy immunologists, and primary care physicians, and ear, nose, and throat doctors, the truth is the second generation ones work better for the things that you need it for. They're generally non-sedating for most people, although you still have a small percentage of people like me who can take a non-sedating antihistamine and be completely knocked out.
Right.
But and there's better choices for insomnia, and there's and the
Ella, I'm
non-sedating ones are
sorry.
better.
I probably
It's
did
okay.
damage to
I'm
you.
good.
I added it to the list of bad mom moments.
Oh, stop it.
You made the best decision with the information you had at the time that you made it.
Exactly.
I
And
love
now we
that.
know, so we
I
won't
love
make that
that.
mistake.
Okay, so we could talk to you for hours, but we have a bunch of little more questions for you, and we want to add them rapid fire at the end.
All right.
Is that okay?
Yes.
All right, let's go.
We're gonna switch off asking questions that we were kind of asked by either like college students or just from our online community.
Lots of questions. Okay.
Which arm should I get a flu shot in? The one I use the most or the least?
So it depends which physician you ask.
Yes.
I used to always be non-dominant because I didn't want to mess with my good arm.
Right,
But the reality is, in general, you'll have less soreness if you use it in your dominant arm because you use it more, you move it more, and so you're gonna have less soreness.
And you want to be moving around.
So that's good to know.
Team
What do
dominant
I do
arm.
when I get a sty in my eye? Because I do get styes in my eye. So what do I do, and what causes it?
So a sty in your eye is that little thing that looks like a pimple. It's usually right on the edge of your water line.
Yep.
Yeah.
What does it come from? People make up, especially for, we see them more often in people who wear mascara and eyeliner, especially if they put their eyeliner, don't put your eyeliner in your water line.
Okay.
But basically it's more or less like a pimple looking thing.
Yep.
So what you do is you have to put moist heat on it. The best way to do that is making something called a rice sock. You literally take uncooked rice, put it in a clean sock, tie a knot in the sock, put it in the microwave, 45 seconds, pull it out, test it on your hand. Don't, because it might get too hot. You don't want to burn, give yourself a burn. But you hold that, and that is moist heat. And, it's not the degree, it's the duration. So you don't want it as hot as possible. It's true. You don't want it as hot as possible. You want moist heat for as long as possible. So not the degree, the duration.
I've heard this, but I heard it with a potato.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope, Ella. Don't stick a potato on your eye.
I'm like, no,
Mr.
like the
Potato
soft
Head.
potato. Okay. Okay, that's
Potatoes
actually
are
good
hard.
to know.
I don't even know that makes sense.
Okay, well,
You're
I'm
gonna
just
put mashed
saying what I've
potatoes on your
heard,
eye?
okay? Not a mashed potato, like an actual potato with
think
like
we
a
could
sock,
argue about
and you
this.
heat it up in the microwave.
That was
Whatever.
an Ella-ism.
Okay, that actually wasn't from me, but it's fine. Okay, what's the difference between a cold sore and a canker sore, and how can somebody get rid of both?
So a cold sore, also known as a fever blister, is caused by the herpes simplex virus. So it's a viral infection. It is infectious, contagious. You can give it if you put your mouth, assuming it's on your mouth, you put your mouth on somebody else's anything, you can pass it to them in that spot. And so they're on the outside. It generally starts off as a painful red bump. Some people will feel tingling or burning before it shows up. Then they'll see a bump, then it's a cluster of bumps, then it's a blister, then it scabs over. That's a cold sore. That's the herpes virus. See your doctor. You can get antiviral medications that decrease the frequency of outbreaks and shorten it. If you do get an outbreak, it will shorten it.
And
so
that's
what you do
things
for
like
that.
Valtrex, yes?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Acyclovir, Valtrex, all of that. Vanvir. And then a canker sore is generally inside your mouth. So not on the edge of your lips, but it's inside your mouth. It can be on your tongue, on your cheeks on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And they're little spots. They are not viral. They are more trauma and just...
Is it from stress?
Short answer, I'm going to say yes, because we definitely see them a whole lot
I get
more.
those inside my mouth.
Yeah,
once
like
in a
on the
while.
inside of your cheek.
Right.
Okay.
And we see them more with stress, but it is not viral. It is not contagious.
Okay.
If you get really bad ones, though, you can also see your doctor, and they can write a prescription for a medication that you actually just swish in your mouth and then spit out. And it kind of coats it and makes it heal faster and be less painful.
Got it. Okay. This is one of the questions that came in. I'm going to ask it. And I have a complicated thing because I had surgery on my esophagus because I have issues with swallowing. But what do I do if I get a chip stuck in my throat is a common question that we get. People are eating Tostitos chips and other chips, and they get it stuck in their throat and they don't know what to do.
I'm from Austin, Texas. corn chips are literally just part of
Yeah,
our
I
diet
can
every
imagine.
single day. Like it's a thing, and they're even gluten free, so everybody eats them.
Yeah.
But the bigger problem is dry swallowing pills. Both of these things will scratch your esophagus.
Oh.
Okay, so if you're not, you need to chew better. The prevention is chew longer, drink plenty of water or whatever liquid. I won't say margaritas because I don't want people downing lots of margaritas, but they do go with the
Dr.
chips.
Jill told me to drink margaritas.
That is not my advice. I'm just saying. But in all sincerity, when you scrape your esophagus,
Right.
it is exquisitely painful.
Yes.
So painful. And it feels like that chip is still there.
There. Yes.
2-3 days later. It's not. The chip's long gone. The pill that was stuck is long gone.
And you got to live with it?
But, mostly yes, honestly. But what you can do is you can not make it worse. So you need to have soft foods. So you switch to yogurt and smoothies and mashed potatoes.
And mashed potatoes, Ella.
There you go. Mashed potatoes for Ella and
Perfect.
ice cream, sure. So you want to not aggravate it and make it worse. And there is a medicine that we sometimes give that literally it's a liquid. It only works in the liquid form because it actually coats that scratched lining of your esophagus. It's called sucralfate is the generic name. Carafate's the trade name. Old medicine still works great. But honestly,
It hurts.
it's painful. It hurts a lot. And it lasts on average 3 days, but can go out to like 7 days. And if you are having serious pain from this, don't hesitate to go in and be seen.
Yeah.
And
People used to brag about swallowing pills without water.
Oh,
and
my
it's
God.
dangerous.
Ugh, no.
Right.
I have to have 4 gulps of water when I swallow my pills.
Okay. Last question.
This is get that solo cup back out, and
Yeah.
let's go with the wine level. 5 ounces.
5
Lots of-
ounces.
All
Right
right.
there. Yeah.
Not wine, 5 ounces of water.
Water.
Love it.
Yes. Let's clarify that.
Let's clarify that.
No
Take a
dry
pill,
swallowing.
5 ounces of water, not wine.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, last question. What is the one thing that every single college student should have in their first aid kit?
If you had to pick one.
One.
Only one thing. Well, I have to say Narcan.
Okay.
Because
Okay, yeah.
I mean, it saves lives.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's the one thing that college students use the most? Probably ibuprofen, which
Okay.
is Advil or Motrin.
Right.
But the thing, if I could only pick one,
Narcan.
it's Narcan because
Okay,
it
so we'll
saves
give you
lives
two.
for a fentanyl
Narcan
overdose.
and
Advil.
ibuprofen.
Or
Ibuprofen.
ibuprofen.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
Amazing.
as usual, this has been packed with life-saving, incredible tips. So thank you so much for coming back on our podcast.
I know, we're so happy to have you back again.
Yay! Well, I was super happy to be back, and we'll have to do it again.
100%.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
For those of you who want to see what the book looks like, this is the book. College
With all
Student
your
Health
notes.
Handbook. With all my notes. College Student Health Handbook. It's amazing. I have lots of notes. I mean, literally, we refer to this. Ella has one at school, and I
Covers
have one at
everything.
home. And of course, mine is signed. So Amazon, Target, anywhere you want to buy
Wherever
it.
you buy your
it's
books.
awesome.
Yep.
Great gift for graduating high school kids as well.
And everyone listening, please don't just keep this to yourself. Share it with your friends and your family and your roommates and anybody that needs to hear it. Dr. Jill's book, The Ultimate College Student Health Handbook, is available wherever you buy your books. And you can follow her on TikTok College Doc or on Instagram at Dr. Jill Grimes, MD, for even more helpful tips.
Let's all remember to take care of ourselves, look out for each other, and maybe skip the dry pills and the tanning beds.
Dang. But yes, that's it for today's episode. And in the meantime, keep being real, keep being you, and know that we've got your back. If you have any thoughts, questions, or just want to say hi, we would love to hear from you. Your support means everything to us. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Chasing Red Flags Official and on Facebook and YouTube at Chasing Red Flags. And if you want to share your story, ask a question, or pick up some Chasing Red Flags merch, go to chasingredflags.com. The Chasing Red Flags podcast is produced by Jay Del Turco. We are new in this space, so if you enjoyed what you're hearing, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or add a comment and like on our YouTube channel.